Now I will click on the finish button. So automatically a project, that is a folder with that name, will be created in our batch folder, that is core Java Jayesh. Okay, so here you just click on the don't create option here. Open the Java perspective now. So when that pop-up window comes, you must click on the open the Java perspective option.
Okay.
So now it's getting open, Jayesh. So if it opens, we can just continue with our program.
Okay.
I think it has hidden the. You have to wait. I don't know. Just wait 1 minute. It opens the. It's opening the this thing. Okay. Till then, I'll just show you here. See, this was our workspace. Okay. Now it's opened again.
Okay.
Let's have a look here. So now close this screen. Not the screen, sir. Close this welcome option. And on the right hand side of your window, you will see something called as a project explorer, package explorer. So package explorer will give you a list of all the projects which you have created in this folder now, this main directory.
Okay. Where was I didn't see the project.
Yes, it's not loaded yet. So 1 minute, there's an option here. Where is the option? Project explorer. 1 minute, Jayesh. It's loading. Something is loading here. Now see. Now you go. You can see this option here, Jayesh. So this is your package explorer. Okay, so just close this part anyway, because we want to create our own program. So just I've clicked on the close button here. So see, this is when you click on the option called package explorer, it shows you the list of projects you have created in this workspace. So this is called as a workspace, Jayesh.
Okay.
This one, where my cursor, the core, our folder, core Java, Jayesh, whatever. That is your workspace. And whenever I want to create any Java program in a workspace, then I will need to create the Java project first, Jayesh. Okay, I need to create a Java project first. Okay, so I'll close this screen also, the welcome screen. Okay, actually my RAM is a bit low, that's why it takes a time to. Okay, till then anyway we can do one thing, continue with, and before continuing, Jayesh, I'll just show you something. See, this is your folder. This is our batch folder. So if I enter the batch folder now, you will see that folder created with this one, see, basic Java program.
Okay.
Right. So actually, I should have created this inside this folder. So I can do one more thing. That again, what I'll do, see, I'll go to switch workspace. There's an option called switch workspace. So what do, Jayesh? You click on other again. Other. Now I don't want this Java project to be created inside our main folder.
Okay.
I want it to be created inside this folder, chapter 2.
Okay.
So I'll select the folder here and go to the launch option. So now it will open that folder now. That is that subfolder which we had created for chapter 2. Okay. So till it opens now, we can continue typing the program. Okay. So here I will just write class employee Jayesh first. So as already I told you that whenever I define my own class, I must declare private data members for the class.
Okay.
Private data members, and also I must declare functions for the class, Jayesh.
Okay.
Okay, so first, regarding what is private, I'll tell you all that. Don't worry. So here I will first type my data members for the class employee. Employee will have an employee name, Jayesh.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will have an employee ID. So I'll put EID here. Then after that, I will have string employee gender, Jayesh.
Okay.
Then you can have the salary of the employee. So float e salary. Then you may have an age of the employee. You may need to store age of the employee.
Mm-hmm.
So int e age, and then string c name. Okay, that is the c name is the name of the company where the employee is working, Jayesh. So these variables which I have declared above, okay, these are the private data. These are the data members, okay, of the class employee. So if you remember yesterday when I taught you regarding class and object, Jayesh,
Okay.
okay, that time I already told you what is meant by class and object. You remember, no?
Mm-hmm.
So I also told you what are the data members of the class, and what are the member functions or the member methods of the class. So these whatever variables I have declared here, Jayesh, okay, which I have highlighted here,
Okay.
these are the data members. What is it? Data
Data.
members of class employee.
Okay.
And one more thing, these variables or these data members, which I have highlighted here now,
Mm-hmm.
they are the in this program, they are the non-static data members of the class employee. So what is meant by non-static basically? See, first of all, just keenly observe here that when I have declared all these data members, I have not used the static keyword of Java. Okay, so static is a keyword in Java.
Okay.
And because I have not used the static keyword here, while declaring all these variables as the data members of the class employee,
Mm-hmm.
so automatically these will become the non-static data members of the class employee, Jayesh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what is the meaning of this non-static data members? So very easy. Just like yesterday I explained to you, if you remember, that whenever you create any object of the class, there will be a separate copy created, Jayesh. Copy,
Mm-hmm.
the RAM memory for all these data members.
Okay.
And if I create, for example, 5 objects of the class employee,
Mm-hmm.
then there will be 5 copies created for each data member. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay. Yes.
And where
E1, E2, E3 yesterday that we did.
will belong to one object, right?
Okay.
So that happens with the non-static data members. That is,
Okay.
if the data members are declared without using the static keyword, Jayesh. Okay, so clear up till here, Jayesh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these are the non-static variables because I have not used the static keyword in Java while declaring them.
Okay.
Okay, so what is static and all I will explain to you further in the further program. Don't worry.
Okay.
So as of now, just keep this in mind
Mm-hmm.
that these are the non-static data members of
Okay.
class
So
employee.
if there is nothing written on like in front of it,
Ah,
so it's
then it
non-static.
becomes non-static, correct? Means
Okay.
when nothing written means when
Non-static.
you don't use the static keyword.
Okay.
So this means that whenever I will create a new object of class employee,
Mm-hmm.
there will be a separate copy created for each of these non-static data members for that object created. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay.
Okay. So, like if you remember, I had explained to you yesterday. See, when you create, suppose I have created. Where is it? I have created 5 objects here.
Yes.
So there will be 5 copies created for each data member, where each copy, Jayesh, will belong to one of the 5 objects. Clear?
Okay.
Okay. So here, one more thing. See, whenever we write any programs in Java, always keep in mind that whenever we define classes in the program, we make use of something called as encapsulation. So what is this encapsulation? It means that there is another word for encapsulation, data hiding, Jayesh.
Okay.
So data hiding means what? That whatever data members you have declared for that class, they must not be accessible from outside the class, Jayesh.
Okay.
That is, they must not be accessible by member functions of other classes. Got it now? They must not be directly accessible, I said, not directly accessible.
Okay.
But suppose some other class wants to access the data members of one class, then it can do it indirectly, Jayesh. So indirectly means by using the member functions of that class. So for example, now I have a class employee. I define one more class here. Say the class name is employee1. Now both are different classes. Above class is employee, or suppose I name this employee1. I define this class as using the name employee1, and this is employee2, Jayesh.
Okay.
So suppose employee2 class has a member function except2. Okay. The name of the member function is except2, Jayesh.
Okay.
Now in except2, I want to access or I want to change the values for some object of class employee1.
Okay.
So for that, what I'll need to do first, I will write employee1 e1 is equal to new employee1, Jayesh. So this, if you remember, I had taught you yesterday
Okay.
how to create an object. Now, if you are able to write e1 dot ename is equal to, suppose I put your name, Jayesh Bagwe. Okay, this is correct, na Jayesh? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing here is now, if you are able to write such a statement in the program and change the value for the ename data member for the e1 object, Jayesh, inside the body of the except2 function of class employee2, then this is not a good programming practice, Jayesh. Okay.
Okay.
The reason being, in Java, always we must try to prevent access to the data members of a class from inside another class.
Okay.
Now you are inside class employee2, and here directly I have accessed the data members for E1 object,
Employee. Yeah.
which is object of which is not an object of the same class, Jayesh.
Yes.
It is an object of a different class, that is employee1.
Yes.
If you had created an object of employee2 here, suppose, then it's fine. Then you can write because you are in the same class now.
Okay.
But now I am not inside the same class employee1. I am inside another class employee2. And so here I am still able to access the data members which of the object, that is E1, which I have created, Jayesh.
Mm-hmm.
So this, as I told you now, is not good programming practice. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay, yes.
So here now the question is, how should I prevent access to
Different class.
the variables of another, the data members of the object of another class
Okay.
when I am inside another class. So first of all, what I will do, I will define some member functions for this employee one there. Suppose I define the member function accept employee,
Mm-hmm.
and inside the body of this member function accept employee, which I have defined for class employee one, I will store the values into these data members here.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose for ename, here I put now Jayesh Bagwe,
Mm-hmm.
and so as I told you, in this program we are explicitly assigning the values. Explicitly means like this, the way I have written here, Jayesh.
Okay.
Okay. And in the next program I will be teaching you how to accept values from the user, so that whenever the program runs, each time we can store values for a different employee. Clear, Jay?
Okay.
So then EID, suppose I write 5 here. E gender, I write male here. Then one more thing, as you can see here, the string values are enclosed inside double quote chairs, double quotes.
Yes. Yes.
So always keep in mind that whenever we have a string value,
Okay.
it is always enclosed inside the double quote chairs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then E salary, suppose I put 50,000, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put E age. So employee age, suppose whatever, suppose I put 30 years, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And C name, company name, whatever. So I just put a company name, say XYZ. Okay, that.
Okay. So for numbers, you don't need to put into closed captions.
Yes, means the other, yes, now see, the other variables are not of string type, no?
Okay.
So they will not be obviously inside double quote chairs.
Okay.
EID is of integer type,
Okay.
and E age is of the int type again. Okay, Jay?
Okay.
Again, E salary is of float type. Clear? So
Okay.
obviously their values will not be inside double quotes.
Okay.
Now, what will I do? I will define. So now, if I want to make changes, or if I want to access the data members of one object of one class, when I am inside another class, Jay, then the way to do it in Java, that is the way to make use of the property called encapsulation, is that we call the member functions on that object, Jayesh.
Mm-hmm.
And using those member functions, which we have called for that object of that class, we indirectly access the values of the data members of the object.
Mm.
Our main focus should be what, basically, that when I am inside another class, I should not be able to directly access the data members of one of the object of another class.
Another class.
So I'm inside employee 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
So I should not be able to directly access the data members for E1 object,
Yep.
because E1 is an object of class employee 1, Jayesh. Clear?
Yes.
But I should be able to indirectly access
Okay.
the data members for E1. So how will I indirectly access the data members for E1, Jayesh? By writing E1 dot accept employee. That
Okay.
is, by calling the accept employee, member function for class employee1 on E1 object. So when I call E1.accept employee, automatically whatever values I have assigned to the data members for E1 object will be assigned here, one line by line, Jayesh. Clear? Okay, so now is it clear, Jayesh?
Okay.
So this is meant by indirectly accessing the data members for E1.
Okay.
So you have not directly accessed them. What is meant by direct access? If I write E1 dot name is equal to whatever value, so and so. Okay. So this is called directly accessing the data members for an object of E1 now, object E1. When I am inside another class employee2 and E1 is an object of another class employee1.
Okay.
So this should be discouraged in Java. Clear?
Okay.
And one more thing. Now, still, so I am able to indirectly access the data members for E1 object by calling this member function accept employee on E1 object. But the thing is still I will be able to directly access the data members for E1. It means even if I write E1.ename here is equal to whatever E1.eid Jayesh is whatever, you will not get any error here, Jayesh.
Okay.
But what I want is that I want to enforce a rule in the program that whenever the programmer tries to access the data members for E1 object directly in another class employee2,
Okay.
you should get the program should give an error, Jayesh.
Error. Okay.
So how can I enforce this rule?
Okay.
For that, I use a private keyword in Java. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay.
Private.
Okay. So you cannot access the other class.
Yes. So now when private is a keyword in Java, it is called as access modifier, Jayesh.
Okay. So you cannot access that file.
Yes. Access modifiers, or they are also called access specifiers,
Okay.
are keywords in Java which are used when we define the or when we declare the data members of the class, and also they are used when we define the member functions or the member methods of the class, Jayesh.
Okay.
Okay, so there are totally 4 access modifiers.
Okay.
One is private, which I just showed you now. Second one is public, Jayesh.
Okay.
Third one is default. And fourth one is protected access modifier.
Okay.
So see, actually there are 3 keywords: private, public, and protected. There is no keyword for the default access modifier in Java.
Okay.
But the rule in Java is that when I don't use the private, public, nor protected keywords,
it is already default.
While declaring the data members or while defining the member functions of the class, then they are having the default access modifier.
Okay.
So now in the initial case, when I just wrote string name, for example,
Okay.
name was having the default ename data member,
Okay.
was having the default access modifier.
Okay.
Now, obviously, you will want to know the differences between all these access keywords or access modifiers. So,
Yes.
I'll just tell you 2 things now regarding private and public, Jayesh, as of now. And the default and protected access modifier, I will explain to you when I teach you the topic of packages, Jayesh.
Okay.
Okay, Jayesh? So, clear up till here now?
Yes.
So, private access modifier means that when you declare the data members of the class as private, then those data members can only be accessed within the class, that is inside the class definition.
Okay.
What is meant by that?
You cannot access it
those
from
data
the
members only inside the member functions or member methods of that same class.
same class, not from another class.
Yes, means you
But
cannot access.
you can access it from indirectly from other
Yes,
class.
yes, that you can do, because the member methods or the member functions of that class, suppose now employee one. So I
Okay.
have not used the private keyword for while defining the like this. I have not written like this now for except employee.
Okay.
Okay, so here, because I have not used the private keyword
Okay.
while defining the member function except employee of the class employee J.
Okay.
So the except employee member method of class employee one can also be accessed outside the class, that is inside another class, say employee two. Clear?
Okay.
No? Okay. So this is one part. So now the except employee is having the default access modifier. Okay, but one more generally one more thing which is recommended in Java is that when we define the member methods of the class, Jesh, the member methods of the class must have the public access modifier, public. So generally we use the public access modifier keyword while defining the member methods of the class. Clear, Jesh?
Okay.
So I will revise the rule. The rule of Java says that the data members of the class are private or must be declared as private, Jesh. And the member methods of the class must be declared as public.
Okay.
And so here I have defined a member function called accept employee now. Having the public. So one more thing, what is meant by the public access modifier? So the public access modifier means that when any member of the class is defined as public, you can access it anywhere inside the program, Jesh.
Okay.
Or you can even access them from some other programs.
Okay.
That obviously I'll not show you now how to do it. I will show it to you when I teach you the topic of packages, Jesh.
Okay.
Okay, so as of now, just remember this point. Yeah,
Okay.
Jesh? Just add a few points here. That is, here the about data members, ename, eid, egender, up till cname of the class employee one are the non-static data members, Jesh, class employee one. This means that, and why is it so? Because we have not used the static keyword in Java while declaring these data members of the class employee one, Jesh.
Okay.
So for every new object which is created of the class employee one, there will be a separate unique copy in RAM memory for the data member, Jesh. That is eid, ename, eid, egender up till cname. Clear, Jesh?
Okay.
So this is what is meant by the non-static members of the class. Clear? No? And also we have used the private access modifier keyword of Java while declaring these data members of the class employee one to enforce the encapsulation or the data hiding principle of Java. So now we cannot directly access the data members of the class employee1 from another class, okay, which is in the same program or different program. Clear, Jay?
Okay. Yeah.
But we will be able to indirectly access the private data members of an object
Yes.
of class employee1 from some other class.
Yes.
Definition: by using the member functions or the member methods of which class? Class employee1 Jayesh. Clear?
Okay.
Clear, Jayesh, now?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can observe here, that the explanation I have mentioned inside the comments. Okay, so I will follow one more rule that each time we create a program in our course, I will write one version of the program with the comments.
Okay.
I will create another version of the program by just keeping the program statements and without the comments. So
Okay.
then it will be easier for you to read only the program also.
Okay. Okay.
And I will send you both the versions of the program on Skype.
Okay. Okay.
That is one with the comments, one without the comments. Clear, Jay?
Okay.
So now, as I told you, there are 4 access modifiers in Java. So it is private, public, protected, and default.
Okay.
The private and protected are the keywords in Java for the different access modifiers. There is no keyword in Java for the default access modifier, Jayesh. So when we don't use the private nor the public nor the protected keywords in Java, while declaring the data members of a class or while defining the member methods or member functions of the class, then those members of the class are considered to be having the which one default access modifier in Java. Clear? And as I told you, also generally we will always define the member methods or member functions of the class using the public access modifier. Clear, Jay?
Okay.
So when a member of the class is defined as public, then that member of the class can be accessed only from can be accessed anywhere inside the program, that is from any other class definition also, Jay, of the program, and also can be accessed outside the program, that is from within those classes which are not the member functions or member methods of that class. Clear, Jay?
Okay.
To which the public members belong. Clear now? Got it now? Definitely.
Yes.
One more thing in Java, that whenever we write programs in Java, Jesh, we will always see whatever functions we define. Okay, we will always define them as member functions of a class. Okay, so
Okay.
I just cannot write, for example, if you try to write just define a function, suppose display. Okay, I have defined a function called display j.
Okay.
Now here, if you observe, this is not a part of any class definition, this member,
Okay.
this function.
Mm.
So you will get an error j. Okay,
Okay.
you cannot define independent functions in Java.
Okay.
Every function which you define in Java must compulsorily be the member function or the member method of some or the other class definition in that Java program. Clear?
Okay.
Okay. So every function or method you define in Java must
Mhm.
be the member function or the member method of some class definition in that Java program.
Okay.
It must be written inside the curly brackets of some class definition in the Java program. Clear, Jay?
Yes.
Okay. Now coming here, see. Here I have used a keyword in Java called void.
Okay.
What is meant by the void keyword?
Mhm.
Uh, if you remember, yesterday I had told you regarding a statement called as the return statement, Jay, which is used to return some output value. Na?
Okay.
So suppose I want to, for example, return the value for EID. So you'll write return EID here.
Mhm.
So the return statement, when we write it inside the body of a function definition in the program, it will return an output value. Okay, or it is used to return a value from the body of that function definition. Okay,
Okay.
and where is the value returned? Obviously in that statement in the program where we have called or executed the function, Jayesh. Okay,
Mhm.
it is returned there. So that obviously you'll notice it when we go further in this program. Okay.
Yes.
So when the main thing about void is that when I mention the return type of a function as void, Jayesh,
Mhm.
then I'm not allowed to return any output value from the body of that function definition.
Okay.
Means you cannot mention a return statement inside the body of the function definition whose return type is void, Jayesh.
Okay.
So here if I had written return EID now, you will get an error now. Okay,
Mhm.
because this function accept employee
Mhm.
having return type void, because I have mentioned void here, you cannot return any output value or you cannot mention any return statement inside the body of this function, Jayesh. Clear? No?
Okay. Okay. If there is a void written there.
Yes. So I will remove this return statement now.
Okay.
Clear, Jayesh?
Uh,
Okay, got it now. Hello.
yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so just keep this point in mind that
Okay.
whenever a function has return type void,
Mhm.
you cannot return any value or you cannot mention any return statement
Mhm.
which returns a value from the body of that function definition. Clear, Jay?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now I want to see, obviously when after I assign the values to the data members of the class, after that I want to for the user to know that what are the values which have been accepted in the data members and for the user to see the output.
Okay.
We must obviously display the values of these variables. Am I right, Jayesh?
Okay.
So for displaying the values, I will define one more member function now. For class employee, which is called display employee, Jayesh. Okay.
Okay.
And inside the body of this display employee function, which is a member function or a member method of class employee. So inside the body of this display employee member function, I will display or print the values of these variables. Okay. So for displaying any output values in Java on your output screen, when the program is running, we make use of a statement which is called as the system.out.println statement. Okay. So this is always a statement you will use for printing the values of variables on the screen in the program. Okay.
Okay.
System.out.println. Actually,
Okay.
system is a predefined class in Java.
Okay.
Okay, and println is a predefined function in Java. So I will explain to you exactly how this works, but just keep this in mind that
Okay.
if I want to display any values of any variables of the Java program on the screen, I make use of this statement called as system.out.println. Okay, so this is a predefined statement. Clear, Jay? We just make use of it in the Java program to print the values of variables on the screen, Jay.
Okay.
So here I will write the employee name is. I will display the employee name first, Jay. Now I will put a plus here and I will write ename here. So why is this plus here mentioned? See, first of all, why have I mentioned this inside double quote, Jay? Okay, because I want this message to be printed as it is on the screen. That is the employee name. So it is mentioned inside the double quotes of the printer statement.
Okay.
And I don't want ename to be displayed, the word ename to be displayed on the screen.
Okay.
I want the value of the ename variable to be displayed on the screen, Jay.
Okay.
So ename has been mentioned outside the double quotes. Clear na?
Okay.
And to join both these values, because I want after this message, I want the value of ename to be printed on the screen. So I have used the plus operator between them.
Okay.
So we can just the correct word for it is concatenation. It is
Concatenation.
concatenation means joining something at the end. So here, because I'm joining, I want to join the value of ename variable to the end of this message. So what I see on the screen will be the employee name is the value of ename variable, that is Jayesh Bagwe. Clear, Jayesh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for concatenating the value of ename to the end of this message, we have used the plus operator here.
Okay.
Okay, and ename has been mentioned outside the double quote, Jayesh.
Okay.
One more thing. What is this /n now? The /n is a special kind of character in Java called escape sequence.
Okay.
So escape sequences are those characters which are mentioned using the / symbol inside the double quotes of the println statement. Okay, guys, of this system.out.println.
Okay.
They are not directly displayed as it is on the screen, but they will create a change in the position of your cursor. This is the cursor, Jayesh. What is blinking now is the cursor. So they will change the position of the cursor on the screen. Okay. /n, see, very easy. /n means it is the escape sequence for new line.
Okay.
In easier words, you can call it as the new line character, Jayesh. So when this /n is executed, the JVM will automatically take the cursor to the next line. So suppose your cursor, this is your output screen. Suppose this is, just assume this is your output screen. I'm not saying this is out. Just assume that this is output screen, Jayesh. So if the cursor was here, it will be taken to the next line now. Clear, Jay?
Okay.
Like this. And then this message will be displayed. That is, the output will be displayed. The employee name is, and the value of ename variable, that is Jayesh Bhagwani. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay.
Okay. And now I want to display the other values also on the screen. So again, I'll put a plus after ename, Jayesh. Got it?
Okay.
The employee ID is plus EID. The employee gender now is E gender, Jayesh. The employee age is plus EH, Jayesh. The employee salary is plus E salary, and the employee company name is plus C name, Jayesh. Clear? Okay, so everywhere, see, between two different values, I have used the plus operator. Got it, Jayesh?
Okay.
Whenever the double quotes are ending, after that also you have used the plus operator.
Okay.
Only after CNAME, again you have not used plus operator. Why? Because there are no more values to be displayed on the screen. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay. Okay.
So basically, how will this print ln statement execute? It will execute from left to right, Jayesh.
Okay.
And it will display. So basically, how will you see the output on the screen? Each message and followed by the value will be displayed on a separate line, line by line.
Okay.
Because each message inside the double quotes has been preceded by this /n symbol. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So every employee detail along with the corresponding message will be displayed on a new line, Jayesh. Clear?
New line. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this is regarding, and one more thing. See, there is a special significance for this ln word here,
Okay.
which is following the print word. So what will the ln word do? That first of all, obviously, it will display each employee detail line by line. Because, but the reason for that is because we have put /n here, Jayesh, each time. But after the significance of this ln is that after the last output value, that is the value of the CNAME variable, is displayed on the screen by this system.out.println statement.
Yep.
So after the value of CNAME is displayed, the cursor will automatically be taken to the next line after that, Jayesh,
Okay.
because of this ln.
Okay.
We can even write system.out.print, just that much.
Okay.
What will this do? System.out.print. Again, it will display each employee detail line by line, Jayesh.
Okay.
Because you have used /n here, clear?
Yes. Yes.
But after the value of CNAME is displayed on the screen, Jayesh, the cursor will still be kept on the same line, clear? Because you have ln here now.
Okay. Okay.
As of now, I'll just put ln here. So I will just write one point here, that the system.out.println statement is used to display output values or output messages of the Java program on the screen. Then, as I told you, /n is called as an escape sequence character, Jayesh. The escape sequences are those characters mentioned using the / symbol in the double quotes of the system.out.println statement or the system.out.print statements. Clear, Jayesh? So this /n will take the cursor to the new line. Got it, na? On the output screen. And /n will obviously not be displayed as /n on the screen. Jayesh, clear? It will take the cursor to the new line. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay.
Okay, and one more thing, as I told you, here we want to display the values of the variables ename, eid, etc. That is the data members of the class employee on the screen, Jayesh. So we have mentioned the names of the variables ename, eid, etc. outside the double quotes. Clear, Jayesh?
Okay.
Outside the double quotes in the above system.out.println statement, and inside the double quotes we have mentioned the messages to be displayed for each employee detail, Jayesh, on the screen, and we have mentioned the plus operator. Understood, Jayesh? To join the message to be displayed as it is on the screen with the value of the corresponding variable. Clear, Jayesh? That is ename, whatever, eid, etc. Understood, Nana? Okay, so I have used the plus there. Got it, Jayesh?
Okay.
So basically the plus is used for something called string concatenation, Jayesh.
Okay.
Which I just told you, which means joining the one value to the end of another value, another string value. Clear, Jayesh? So that is called string concatenation. And one more thing, as I told you, because of mentioning the ln word in the system.out.println statement, the cursor will automatically be taken to the new line, just after the last output value, that is the value of the cname variable, is displayed on the screen. Okay, Jayesh?
Oh,
So clear up till here now, definitely?
yes.
Yes. Okay, so what we'll do for today, we'll stop, Jayesh, okay? And
Okay. Okay.
tomorrow we'll finish off the last part of this program. That is, we just have to define one more method called the main method, Jayesh.
Okay. No
Okay,
problem.
every Java program must contain a function called main, a main
Okay.
function. Okay,
Okay.
and like I told you, just like the other functions we define in a Java program, the main method also must be defined as a member method or a member function of some class in the program. Okay, Jayesh?
Okay.
So I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll run the program also tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. So what I'll do, I'll save, as I told you, I will save